Join me in knowing this together. There is one power, only one power. That power is infinite mind. It is infinite love. It is infinite heart. It is the ultimate truth of everything, and it moves through us, as us, in us at all times. It is the very essence of everything that we are, everything that is around us. All of creation is a formation of that power. Knowing that, I can celebrate it. I can come to this time together and open my mind as an expression of that power, open my heart as a knowing of the greater truth of who I am and what life is about, and be ready now to have within me new ideas, and greater opportunities to express my life and to express life for the whole world in a way that brings great love, great freedom, and great power. Knowing this is so, I can release this treatment now, letting it be, and so it is. And such is the nature of life, that all it asks and all it wants is the opportunity to appear. You're that opportunity, and so am I. So it is. And because we know you're that opportunity, and all that Spirit wants is the opportunity to express, then whoever you are, whatever path you've traveled, whatever degree of joy or pain or goodness or what you might declare as not so good that you've walked through to be here and to get here, you're in a place where you're honored, you're loved, you're respected for who you are, whatever that background, whatever your current expression of life. We're glad you're here, and we appreciate you, and we celebrate you. Thank you. We have some special guests today. We have with us, like house full of ministers. Well, 3. So I will tell you, though, that doesn't make the place any more holy. It's absolutely holy because of who is here. But we do have visiting with us from Maitland, Florida, the north end of Atlanta, the co-ministers of the CSL there. Orlando. What did I say? You said Atlanta. Did I say Atlanta? Okay, it's one of those days. Orlando, Florida. A little bit south end of Atlanta, the north end of Orlando. Thank you. And anyway, that's the Reverend Kath De Palma and the Reverend John De Palma. They have been there for how many years? 25 years, and they will soon be stepping into a whole new adventure and completing their ministry there and moving to we don't know where yet, but I'm thrilled to have them with us. And some of you will recognize both of them. Kath and I were in class together along with Reverend Paul Gagne. So know that you are surrounded today. You can misbehave all you want to and be loved. Okay? That's what happens. That's how it goes. Thank you. Glad you're with us. Appreciate having you here. Thank you. So as we move into our celebration, I invite you to continue with this thought about who we are, one power, one light, our opportunity to express who we are, by inviting you to read with me our Declaration of Principles. I believe in one God, one absolute power, and first cause to all things. I believe that this power is perfect love, and it creates out of a desire to express love. I believe all thought is creative, and how I choose to think creates my personal experience. I believe in the unity of all life, and the immortality of the individual soul forever unfolding. I believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the eternal givingness of God to all. Thank you very much. So we're going to now move into a time of continued good ideas and good thinking, followed by a spiritual mind treatment by our practitioner and vice president of the board, Lee Huffman. Thank you, Lee.
Somebody oiled this so we can now move it up and down without it creaking at you. It's the little things in life that make me happy. There is so much going on in our community and in our community around the world. For example, this is the end of Black History Month. We are in the middle of the season for nonviolence. We had a great meeting. For those of you that joined us, it was a very good meeting last week across the street There were about 20 members there, and that was phenomenal. A lot of good ideas that the board is going to take and work on today, as a matter of fact, which is part of why John is here. And then Vista is coming up in 2 weeks, and some of us are delegates. You know that you have delegates that represent you in the international organization. And so this week, one of the things that we did was we got online and listened to the people who want to serve us all as members of the Ministerial Council, the Leadership Council, the Practitioner Council, and sort of the governing and guiding bodies of this organization. And it was very interesting to hear them be interviewed, because for every position except one, and I should mention that, there was one position that we only had one opening, and we only had one person running for, and that was for the lay person on the committees. And so I'd encourage some of you that if you're interested, you don't have to be a practitioner or a minister to have an influence on this organization. But I think he's going to be good in his position as well, but he's pretty much locked in. We had, those of you that I look around the room, that are delegates probably have listened to the discussions that they had, and what stood out for me was a question about who owns the center and who owns CSL and where do things start. And then in the adult study group today, we read about mental equivalence, which is the mind set that we have, the thoughts that we have that create this world around us. And so who owns CSL Midtown? Who's responsible for its caretaking? Who's setting the direction through their thoughts and mental equivalence? Just have you ponder that over the next few weeks. We'll have a board meeting at the end of next month, or not a board meeting, but a town meeting. And I wanted to share with you from the Science of Mind some readings that it's talking about man's relationship to the world around them. And the title is The Result of Our Own Thinking. Thought is an inner movement, which is largely the result of one's perception of life and their reaction to it. Every time this movement takes place, it takes place within mind, capital M, upon cause, capital C, and according to law, capital L. We are dealing with the same power that molds the planets and all that is upon them. And the limit of our ability to use this power is not in principle, but in our own understanding of it. Each one of us today is a result of the use that he or she has made of the law, either consciously or unconsciously. As soon as we realize this, we shall see that what we are now, or what we have and experience, is a result of what we have in thought. And the answer to what we shall be is contained in what we are now thinking. For we can change our thinking. And if you look on the back of any of the textbooks, it says, typically right on the back, change your thinking and change your life. Whatever we think, act, believe in, feel, visualize, vision, imagine, read, and talk about. In fact, all the processes which affect or impress us at all are going into the subjective state of our thought, which is our individualized use of universal mind. Whatever goes into the subjective state of our thought tends to return as some condition. And so we alone create our destiny. I believe the people in this room are the people who own CSL Midtown. And our thought, combined thought, determines where it goes, how much it grows, how much sustainability we have, how much abundance we have, and it's been great for the past 7 years. I know that Bob's going to talk about next week, so I won't go there. That's something else that's coming up. And it's just a wonderful time in CSL worldwide, and definitely here in CSL Midtown. So I'd like for you to contemplate now with me, as I go into spiritual mind treatment, what the center could be and what it is already. Spiritual mind treatment is an affirmative prayer. That is a scientific way of connecting with the universe around us. So join me, if you will, in knowing these things as I speak it in the first person. I am so grateful that right here and right now, I know that there is one Creator, that Creator chose to speak the words that would manifest the world that we live in. And in the beginning, there was nothing but the Creator. There was only one. So out of itself, it created us. And out of us, it created the Center for Spiritual Living Midtown. So I know that we are all one, and that CSL Midtown is part of the one, unseparated, but quite unique. I know that I have a responsibility to take care of this creation that was created by some amazing leaders 7 years ago, and that I have come into to participate and to enjoy. I know that the world is a better place for the teaching that comes through the Center for Spiritual Living Midtown and the Centers of Spiritual Living worldwide. I know that what we speak from this stage, from this podium, is words of truth and words of wisdom that help guide our everyday living, but help guide the center to be more prosperous and have a bigger impact on this community of Atlanta and even beyond through the videos and audios and things that get put up on the web. I know that all this is good, and that I will continue to do my part to create in my mind the middle equivalence of a thriving community that opens up and speaks to the world around us. There is nothing that can get in the way of the future of this community, of the teaching that is the truth of spiritual mind treatments and religious science. I know that it is all good. And I take pride in knowing that I'm here with friends and that we are connected as one through Spirit. So I know that I think the right thoughts and that the right leadership is here and that the right future is not out there, but right here today. For it is in our minds and in our hearts, and that is where it will manifest from. So I release these words knowing that all is good and all is well and all is positive for each individual and for this center as a whole and for CSL worldwide. I release these words knowing that all is good, and together we say, so it is.
So it is. Wow. Okay, so we have been talking all month about the various areas of our lives and how we are indeed, through changing our consciousness and changing our minds, gradually, little by little, every day, getting better and better. And today we are talking about our work. And I kind of halfway expected when I said work for a big sigh to happen all over the room. Because for so many people, in so many ways, and especially folks who haven't found this yet, work is a four-letter word. Work is that thing you have to do if you're going to get paid so you can take care of your family and do all of those things that we want to do in the world. It's a necessity. It's a requirement. It's something that you just, oh my gosh, it's Monday. I mean, how often do any of us get up on Monday morning and go, it's Monday, I get to go to work. I can't wait. Hands? A few people? Okay, good. Yes, that's how I feel on Sunday morning, because this is my most intense focus day of work, and it's my opportunity to do this. And I wake up early and I'm like, yes, what's going to happen today? I wonder what Spirit's going to do with all this that I've been working on and planning all week and that we've been putting together for this thing to come together. And you go like, wow, what's coming? What's the excitement? What's possible? So the title of this is how to secure, how to have, how to keep your perfect job, your right and perfect work. Not your job, but your work. There's a difference. And what I want to let you know as we start this off is I'm not going to tell you a whole lot about how to do the right and perfect resume or how to get the right and perfect job or how to prepare for the right and best interview process, because there's tons of stuff out there on the internet and libraries. Remember those? Libraries where you can go and actually learn about how to do those things, and where you can get details from experts who can give you every little piece that you need on how to do a resume and how to do a thing and how to present yourself and how to go on the internet and find the job you want. That's not what we're talking about. Because underneath and behind all of that, no matter how good a job you do with all those things, what you are believing and thinking and feeling about yourself and how you understand work and what you think work is for you will override all of the excellence of your presentation, your perfect resume, your way you present yourself. Because we know in this teaching, we've been singing about it and talking about it since we got here this morning, is that it is our consciousness, our mental attitude, our mental equivalent, what we create in mind is the equivalent of what we want to experience that really matters. And that has the greater power over what you do. Even if you are doing the perfect presentation and you get the job, if it doesn't match your mental equivalent of what your work should be, you're either going to be very unhappy or you're not going to last very long. Because consciousness compels. What we think and feel and believe and desire compels us and compels life around us to respond accordingly. So we can't trick ourselves, even though some of us really appear to do that well sometimes. Trick ourselves into believing this will work or that will work or we want this to happen or that will happen, when deep in our hearts there's something else at work here. There's something else that's bubbling up and pushing us. And until we express that and follow that and feel that, our work life is going to simply be a bumpy road from one thing to another to another. When we find what that is in us that is just living to be expressed, that's pushing out from within us, that wants us to be and say and do and give, when we find that, work becomes an easy flow. It becomes a joy. Is your work a joy? Think about it. It can be. And we're going to talk a little now about how do you get there. Well, first of all, let's there are some steps to creating, and I'm saying creating and attracting your perfect work. Because work is not the job. The job is your opportunity perhaps to do the work, but the work is what you're about, what you're bringing, what you're doing, who you are. But the first place we have to start in looking at work is to get very clear that you're not trapped. I don't know that there's anywhere in our lives that people have more struggle with that concept that we are trapped than in our work lives. I'm stuck in this job. 15 more years to retirement, but I got to do it. Or we're stuck because we can't imagine what else we could do, or we've gone so far in our career that we can't go any further, but we because we don't really want to, or it's not for us. But at the same time, we're feeling really like this is it. That's all there is, and there's nothing else to do but wait it out. Or we're stuck because we have a boss that drives us nuts. I had a practitioner client years ago who came in because she just didn't think she could keep her job, but she couldn't quit because she needed her job because her boss was such a pain to her, and she felt like he was always after her and always beating on her and always making belittling her and all of those kinds of things. And his behavior did reflect that. So what we did was we changed her mental equivalent about a boss. And she started every day treating to find a way in her mind and heart to love him for who he truly was, not for his behavior, but to see the divine spark and divine light that he was. And she treated and she worked on this. And she would grit her teeth and when he'd walk in and under her breath in the quietness of her mind say, "I love you. I love you. Bob says I have to love you." And she kept working at it. And working at it. And you know what happened? His behavior changed. And the next thing you know, he's recommending her for a job equal to his in another school. With glowing recommendations that included a raise, that included living closer to or working closer to her home. On and on it went. It was the perfect next step for her. Now, she didn't get there by staying mad at him or rehearsing over and over and over how stuck she was. She got unstuck by finding a way to think differently and know something differently about her situation. She found a place of power. The place of power for her was to love, was to see him differently, to know differently about her world and her situation. And that's part of what we're about. That's the first step in finding your perfect job, is getting out of that consciousness of trapped, that consciousness of choicelessness, and finding a way to always have choice. There's a wonderful book called Change Within and Change the World by Jane Battenberg. She's an amazing writer. She's a healer. She's written a number of different books on this topic and in this area. And she has a whole chapter on how to get out of choicelessness into that clarity that you have choice. She says if you don't see a way out, but if you were to see a way out, what might that be? When you're stuck in that place, ask yourself that question. I can't see any way out, but if I did see a way out, what might it be? Trick ourselves into knowing that deeper truth that's already within us. Since everyone can feel the same stuckness at sometimes, and yet other people seem sometimes to move through it, ask yourself, what would someone else do? How would someone else get out of this? Yeah, but that's not me. Well, yeah, but it could be. Because in the world of oneness, if one person can, anybody can. If Chan can cook, anybody can cook. It's a great little TV show. So we look at how would they do it? How would they think differently? How would they get out of choice? And just getting our minds operating in that kind of positive way opens a door for us to move into choice and out of choicelessness. So that's our next piece to do, is to get out of choicelessness. You know, once we do that, then we need to begin to have some better ideas about work in general. Kennedy Schultz, in his wonderful little book, You Are the Power, says that our work is our opportunity to serve ourselves and humanity. And not only is it an opportunity, but it is a drive within us that's implanted by the very essence of creation. Because we are one with all creation, we are creative beings. And our need to create, our desire to create, is not only to create something to get for us, but to create for other people. So your work is your real opportunity to create something good and meaningful and valuable for other people. It is your creative expression. See, you give yourself first. You give of your passions, of your values. You figure out what matters to you. What do you love to do? Think about when you were a kid, the things that you loved and enjoyed. Are you getting to have that same joy and love today? Is there a way that you could have that joy by giving? You know, one of my favorite stories is Buckminster Fuller. In his younger years, he got into deep depression, and his marriage wasn't working, and he had lost a couple of jobs, and things weren't going well. And he went out to a lake, sitting by himself with the intent of killing himself. And he contemplated it and thought through his options. He contemplated it and felt totally useless and a total failure. And then the idea occurred to him. If there were anything needed on spaceship Earth that he could do, that he had the power within him to do, that maybe was what he should do, and that would give him a reason to live. And you know Buckminster Fuller, amazing inventor, creator. Our world would not be what it is today. Our technology would not be what it is today had it not been for the inventions that he came up with. What he saw a need, he asked himself the question, am I the one that can fill that? And the answer was yes. And does it match who I am and what I'm about? And the answer would be yes. And he would just create and create. And finally it reached a point where he was doing all kinds of inventions that he said, I just keep inventing stuff and waiting for somebody to recognize that it's useful. And it happened. And he would do it. And many of his things we use today. He invented a car that scared everyone to death because it was a three-wheeler that was shaped like a bun, a hot dog bun. And instead of windows, it had a periscope. But it could turn in a complete circle. It could run in and out of traffic. And they finally asked him to quit driving it on the streets because it was scaring people. This was in the 1930s, I think. So, these kinds of things are just in you, waiting to come. We have a teen in this group. You may have heard of him. I know you've seen him up here if you've been here a while. Q. Q loves snakes and spiders and lizards and things that I don't want anywhere close to me if I can help it. He's 16. 16? Yeah, he's 16. Now, he has an inner passion and drive for snakes and spiders and lizards. And he said, if I love snakes and spiders and lizards, there must be other people who love snakes and spiders and lizards. We were at camp a few weeks ago, out on a lake. I've been taking kids to camp since the year 2000. I've never seen a snake. I've seen a few spiders and a lizard or two. Every time we looked up, Q was walking around with a snake around his neck that he'd found out in the bushes or out on the grounds or somewhere else because they were kind of lazy. It was cold. The snakes weren't moving too fast, and he knew which ones were safe, and he knows how to handle them, and he loves them. Now, any other teen there, I would have been screaming and running, but I know that he has a backyard full of snakes, so I figured he was safe, and I knew he was safe. But here's what it has to do with work. He took that passion he has, and he has his snakes and lizards and spiders that he loves and cares for, and they are in movies being made here in Atlanta all the time. He has turned that passion into work and into a business, and he's 16. As soon as you start thinking you don't know what to do and how to do it, you're in the wrong mindset. We need to get our minds out of that place, into that place. What is it I am most passionate about? What do I care the most about? And do I know, am I willing to believe that there are people in the world or systems in the world that will value those same things enough that I can create value and make money on it? Make a business, create an opportunity. The list goes on and on. Pet rocks. Whoever knew you needed a pet rock? I used to have one. It's easier to take care of than a cat or a dog, and certainly a snake or a lizard. But someone had the great idea that people needed something to love and to recognize and to spend time and put their attention on that didn't require too much. And they created this amazing idea and got really rich on it. And the list goes on and on. Some of these things seem kind of useless, but they all had some kind of value of good for the world. And the people who create that work create it out of their own compassion and passion for what we love and what we enjoy most. See, if you find your joy, if you discover what it is that brings you the greatest joy, and can figure out a way and commit yourself to seeing a way to bring value to it and to bring value to the world through it, it unfolds and flows with ease and grace. The opportunities show up. You create that mental equivalent, that idea, and the universe says yes, and boom, boom, boom. Things start coming at you from all directions to allow you to do that. The tricky part is getting really clear about what you love and what matters enough to put that kind of attention to it. Thomas Troward, one of our founding or core philosophers and teachers in this movement, says that there are 7 gifts of spirit, and they each build on each other. There are 7 gifts of life that show up. It starts with life, and it goes to light, and then love, and then power, and then peace, and then beauty, and then joy. Now, you don't have to get all those others right to have joy, but when you find joy, you know that those other things are falling into place. You'll find the joy in that which you love, that which is there because you're alive, that which brings greater light and knowledge to you and others, that which empowers you to feel alive and able and willing to come forward in life in a different way, and that which brings you peace. You know, real peace is just about impossible without power. The real peace of knowing that what you believe and what you desire and what you are is good and right and perfect for you comes because you know that there's a power within you that's constantly saying yes and that's constantly bringing forward who you are. There's a great, great old bumper sticker that said, God don't make no junk. And it's true. At one man's junk is another man's treasure. One woman's trash is another woman's collectible. On and on it goes. There is value to you in every idea you have. So if you're looking for that next right thing and that next expression of your work, put these ideas in place. If you're in a job that you think has got you closed in, discover where your choices are in it. Work your way out of it by working your way into it. Be the best you can be at that work and know that you will be lifted out of it or it will change to match who you are. It can't help but do that. It can't help but unfold. And then there's a trust level here, a faith level. A faith in the idea that there's this powerful good in the universe that is expressing itself as you and is expressing itself as all life, loves you, trust through you enough to create the opportunities for that which you believe in and that which you desire to be available to you, along with everything needed and everything required to make it successful, to bring it forward in an easy and powerful way. You've all had those experiences where things just suddenly synchronize and they seem to be flowing and you walk from this thing to the next thing and it just unfolds. That's because this power is at work, bringing together apparent opposites, apparent things that don't necessarily fit. Ernest Holmes says if there's something needed and required for the full expression of your desire, and it's in the farthest part of the planet, away from anything you can imagine, it will find its way to you. I've told the story many times of feeling this great desire to go to Bali, and that I'm called to Bali, and I'm all set to go to Bali, and then suddenly, boom, they cut off travel to Bali because of the of unrest there, and our visas were revoked, and we're all sitting around wondering what happened. 2 weeks later, a Balinese priest shows up at my door and says, "I'm here to teach you about Bali. Spirit said I needed to come here for some reason." And I said, well, if you can't go to Bali, bring Bali to you. Why not? That power is there. I didn't do anything to make that happen. That happened out of the mental equivalent in my mind of clarity that there was something important for me to learn and to know. And that happens for you. It's not magic. It's called the law of attraction. It's called that mental equivalent creating the opportunity to pull to it everything that matches it. The tricky part is having a really clear mental equivalent so you're not also pulling to it struggle and difficulty. Life, Kennedy talks about in that book that there's a part where we have this misguided idea that if a job is difficult and stressful and causes a lot of pressure and we get upset about it, we should get paid more. Think about that for a minute. A number of years ago, the air traffic controllers went on strike because they were under too much pressure and they weren't able to do the job well and they wanted more money. And apparently they got it. So we're paying more money to a group of people to be stressed out, overwhelmed, and not clear in their jobs. Or your surgeon says, I'm charging twice as much for this surgery than I do for all the others because I'm more nervous about doing it. We don't want that. That's not the kind of thinking with work we're looking at. What we're looking at is a clearer idea that our jobs should be a free and easy flow. I want to pay people more money to be free and easy and joyful in their work than stressed out, tired, and overwhelmed. Because the more stressed out, tired, and overwhelmed we are, the more we're creating that same thing, more stressed out, tired, and overwhelmed. Because that mental equivalent, that idea that we have of the job, will keep manifesting exactly according to our beliefs about it. The universe is just happy for us to have whatever we believe we want. If it's stress, yeah, okay, we'll give you some stress. Is it joy and ease and peace? Yeah, we'll give you joy and ease and peace. You want to do it the hard way? Okay. I've done that much of my life. Is there a backwards, hard way to do this job? Let's see if Bob can find it. No, I'm done with that. Straight path, easy flow. Straight path, easy flow. And the last thing about finding that job you want is putting it in a larger context, or that work that is yours to do, is putting it in a larger context than just your particular scope of action. How you think about whatever you're doing makes all the difference. There's a great old story of a group of people working in an area in Italy, and a young man comes up to them and says, "What are you doing?" And a guy stops what he's doing and says, "Well, I'm chipping this rock up, cutting it in pieces, trying to make a living for my family. I work long, hard hours because we have to pay the bills, and this is what I can do." Interesting. He asks the next person, "What are you doing?" "Well, I'm cutting this stone so that it fits together perfectly. I can trim this down until you can put the joint together, and it almost looks like one piece. And I am really, really good at that." And he sees an older guy over on the side and who's working away just quietly, not talking to anybody, and he says, "So, sir, what are you doing?" Oh, look around you, young man. I'm building a cathedral." They were all on the same job. But who was having the deep, rich, wonderful experience? That's the idea we need to get. And when we get that idea, the universe does what it does, which is say yes. Spiritual law goes into effect, and everything begins to work on our behalf. See, you already have within you everything needed to create your perfect work, because you have your passion, you have your compassion, and you have the ability to give it, because that is our nature to do, is to give. We are reflections of the infinite, and the infinite is all about giving life and giving expression to it. And so are you. Because you are really wonderful. And so am I. And so it is. Thank you. Thank you. And so knowing that, join me in a few moments, or for a few moments of quiet, of recognition of who you are and what you're about. Take a deep breath. If it's comfortable, close your eyes and simply settle into that inner, quieter place within you. Let all the words and ideas you've heard bubble around or go quiet. And speak to the wisdom within you. Speak to the Creator within you that says and say, "I'm grateful the Creator within me reveals to me what is my greatest passion and what I have to give to the world that will make me and the world a better place. There will be greater good, greater joy. I am grateful the Creator within me reveals to me at this time what is mine to do." I know that we are immersed in a great spiritual energy, a great spiritual universe. One power, one light, one life, one energy, one truth. And I am an expression of that truth, of that energy, of that life. And I have within me gifts that seem to have just to be there. Gifts of love, gifts of light, ideas, desires. It's all expressions of the one becoming something unique as me. And so I surrender to those better ideas. I surrender to those things I care most about. Surrender in the sense of giving myself to them, to allow them to unfold in my world and in my life, with joy, with ease, with goodness. I don't need to struggle. I don't need to work hard. I don't need pressure or tension. None of that allows me a greater expression of who I am. In place of it, I stand in the great clarity that I am an individual version of the infinite. Therefore, the infinite does not struggle. I do not struggle. Universal mind knows itself clearly, and so do I. Universal love expresses itself as me, with gentleness, with ease, with grace, and with great power. So I step forward into the rest of my day and into the rest of my world and my life, operating from that place within that knows who and what I am, and I live from that place, and I give from that place in service to humankind and to all of the world, all of its kinds. Plant, animal, human, all of it. And I know what is mine to do, to bring great joy. And I let myself know. And I know that I know. Because this is the truth, I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful to have access to this reality within me. And in that gratitude, I can release this idea, knowing now that it is the mind of God. It is my mind. It is the mind of the infinite, right here present within me, within each of us. Knowing this, I let this be so. And so it is. Deep breath. This transition back to the left brain is sometimes interesting, right? So, part of what you have to give, part of what I have to give, are of our resources to one another to allow this place to continue, and not only just to allow it to continue, but to support it in its thriving and in its moving forward. So we invite you to take this opportunity to increase your own prosperity, to increase your own life, because what you give to and put your attention on expands by contributing to giving here to our center. I do that from a place of such gratitude for the many people, all of you sitting out here who are so generous in your giving and in supporting and allowing us and creating this place for us to be, for owning, thank you Lee, for owning CSL Midtown. And in that gratitude, we go forward in our offerings and in our sharing, knowing whatever we do is returned multiplied many, many times. So we have some things happening next week. Next week is the 7th birthday of the wonderful CSL Midtown. We will be celebrating that by having two guest speakers and one familiar face. Well, they're all familiar faces. David Barrett will be back to speak, and Paul Gagnier will speak, and I will speak. Now, we will still keep that within an hour, so you won't miss brunch or lunch or whatever. And so we're going to talk fast and short. And then we'll have Reverend Angela here, who was also part of that founding group, and inviting you to invite the people you know who were part of that first founding beginning 7 years ago to come back, so we can have you stand up and cheer for you and recognize you and thank you. And if you're one of those, please come back next week. We'll have some light refreshments afterwards, an opportunity to to share and to talk amongst yourselves and to celebrate the fact that we are here and continue to be here. 7 years is a critical time, and they say in relationships and in other things. So we are at that 7 years, and we are about to launch into a whole brand new, bigger, better, grander way of being, only because the times have changed, not to make anything before it wrong, but to say that here we go. Here we go into the next 7 years. Here we go into the next chapters. So please be here to celebrate that with us. It'll be wonderful. And then at the end of the month, we are having our annual business meeting, which bores everybody at the very name of it. But it will be an interactive meeting, and it will be an opportunity to continue some of the conversation we started last week, and an opportunity to look closely at where we are and what is required and what is possible for us to do and be in terms of the business of this center. We are a spiritual center, but we also are in a physical world, and therefore business is an important part of that. And we'll be looking at that, inviting you to come and participate at your chosen level and from the place of joy. So we look forward to that. The middle of the month, Reverend Ursula will be back to speak with us. She's doing the fourth of a 4-part series that's been stretched over about 2 years. So those of you who don't remember the first 3, don't worry, you'll get it. It's still a standalone part. So she'll be here to talk to you about the spiritual issues around surviving things like the fires and the mudslides and all that she went through, and many others have gone through in California in the last year. So it's an opportunity to see and hear, how do we apply this principle of this teaching in very difficult, rough times, because they do come. So that's what's coming up in the near future. I'll remind you, too, that we are reading through the Science of Mind textbook, a few pages a day, to get all the way through it within 1 year. And the guide for that is on the table out front. On Sunday mornings at 10 o'clock, we come together, the adults do, and discuss it. We also have a great children's program going on out there every week. I just noticed a bunch of them. And they'll be coming in to speak to you occasionally and let you know what they're doing. But if you have kids or grandkids or cousins or uncles, or just don't grab them off the street, but bring them. Imagine if you had gotten this when you were a kid, if you had heard these ideas about how wonderful you are. So help us bring that to our next generations and what's coming forward and what's next, what's coming up and what's next. We also have the wonderful Reverend Angela doing prayer works on Monday nights. This has been going on for quite a while, and you hear about it every Sunday, and I talk about it. It's a call-in opportunity to hear and get treatment work around spiritual mind treatment for changing those things in your life that aren't quite working the way you want them. And she's right there every week, ready for you and ready to work with you in getting a better idea for yourself, creating a stronger mental equivalent, releasing some of the nonsense and getting on with it. So take advantage of that. It's free. It's right there. And keep your ears open, because we will be offering some meditations coming up in March. We'll also be offering some possibilities, some additional class opportunities that you'll hear about. So I think that's it for me. Practitioners, thank you. I knew there was something. Practitioners are the people who know this teaching, who know how to do treatment work, affirmative prayer with you in order to change the things in your life you want to see changed. They are skillful, they are compassionate, and they are very powerful when they do their work. If you don't want it to change, don't talk to one of them. If you want to just keep complaining about it, don't talk to them. Don't even stand close to them, because you will absolutely find that the shift and change happen. So I would like to ask them to stand to be recognized so you can see who you want to go talk to.